Spoilers, drive away dolls, more like drive away dildos.
Yep. Drive away deep cut.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of D words that you could fit into your mouth.
Like dang.
Eli.
Caroline Polachek.
Yes, that's exactly the D word that I was thinking about. I'm Wilson Lai.
I'm Benjamin Yap.
I'm Eli Sands.
And you're listening to Deep Cut.
On Deep Cut, we compare a director's most popular film with a personal favorite chosen by one of us.
We also discuss the director's life and career to bring context that helps us view their movies as they may want us to.
Welcome to another episode of Deep Cut Upkeep, a series within our larger Deep Cut series where we cover new releases from former Deep Cut directors. Before we get into talking about Joel Coen's... Nope! Not Joel Coen's.
You got the names wrong.
Wait, keep that. Don't cut it out.
Before we get into Ethan Coen's 2024 film Drive Away Dolls, if you're enjoying the show, please remember to give us a rating or a review and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. This will help others discover the show. You can also keep up with us at Deep Cut Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd. And if you want to talk about this movie with us or any other film, TV, etc., can you please join us on our Discord server?
Please.
If you're a big fan of the show, we've also recently launched a Patreon. You can subscribe to it for free to keep up with the show and receive special Patreon posts. You can click the link in our description or go to deepcutpod.com to find our Patreon, Discord, and all the other socials that we've mentioned here. And a special little plug, because this is a Deep Cut Upkeep episode on one of two Coen Brothers, please check out our other Coen Brothers episodes. Episode number 39, which was the Tragedy of Macbeth. Episode numbers 14 to 17, which were No Country for Old Men, Inside Llewyn Davis, Burn After Reading, and Raising Arizona. It is a really fun series, and I remember vividly, just discovering the Coen Brothers for the first time thanks to these two guys. So very grateful for this, and I think gives a lot of context to the conversation that we're about to have today.
Plus, you'll hear several custom-recorded songs that we did. Covers from the Coen Brothers movies.
This is one of two series that are very special because we've made songs for them.
Yeah, what's the next one going to be?
Oh.
I don't know.
We should have done Smoke Gets in Your Eyes for Edward Yang.
It's true. It's true.
Not too late.
We should do a very musical director. Maybe if we do Jacques Demy, then we can, we can do some music. It's all on you, Eli, really.
Oh, great.
Ben and I don't have musical bones.
I have no musical ability right
That's
now.
not true.
Right now.
I auto-tune you both and it sounds great.
Wow, thanks, Eli.
Auto-tune.
Quick, brief plot description from Letterboxd. Jamie, an uninhibited free spirit, bemoaning yet another breakup with a girlfriend and her demure friend, Marion, desperately...
Very mindful.
Very mindful, very demure, Marion. They both desperately need to loosen up. So in search of a fresh start, the two embark on an impromptu road trip to Tallahassee. But things go quickly awry when they cross paths with a group of inept criminals along the way. Okay, Drive Away Dolls. Let's do general reactions.
That's an insane synopsis. It's like
That's kind of crazy.
missing a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
It's as brief can be. Eli, I'm curious as to what you think of this movie, because before recording this episode, I think we received the most pushback from you being like, I'm going to hate it. I don't want to watch it because I'm going to hate it.
Yeah.
And maybe, how did you feel?
I don't think it's a good trailer. And I think I was maybe thinking too hard about how the last couple of Coen Brothers movies together didn't really have the sauce. How the Tragedy of Macbeth is formally interesting, but pretty blah in my memory. And I was expecting Drive Away Dolls to similarly be cringy or like, you know, the line in the trailer of "we're Democrats," they really make a meal of. And it's like, oof, like somebody stop the boomers, please. But I really enjoyed it. You know, the first 20 minutes maybe a little bit like dodgy, but once you sort of lock into it, it's really nice and it's sweet and it's funny and it's a good romp. Yeah, I had a good time.
Me too. I really enjoyed myself. Ben, how about you?
It's fine. I mean, I don't think the Coens have done a hit since like the film that we covered, Inside Llewyn Davis. Like, I don't think they've really like managed to eke out a hit.
Like a great movie.
Yeah. And I mean, it's fine. Like, it is on a scene level, some scenes are kind of fun. And I think thinking about Joel's film that he did on his own, this feels more like a Coen Brothers movie than that film. And even in terms of style, in terms of dialogue, in terms of the way that people act, in terms of editing, it feels more like a Coen Brothers film, but it still is missing something, like some kind of like tension that would make it make more sense, like as a story compared to the other films. So I don't know, like I just don't think it comes together as an idea.
The way it comes together is it clicks together surprisingly well, but before that point, like the color interstitials with Miley Cyrus and there are parts of it that are confusing. You're not sure why they're being juxtaposed until the moment when it all clicks at the end.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that's why these things were here.
And when it clicks for you, Eli, it's like, for you, it's like, it really works.
I think by the end, I get why the components were all there, even if it does feel a little bit random or for the sake of humor. But I'm willing to forgive that because the movie is trying to go for humor. Now, in terms of something missing, though, the Letterboxd review by Devon Scott, who hosts the What Would Lubish Do podcast, and a bunch of other stuff. He's a cinematographer, great Letterboxd intellectual. He wrote something to the effect of how right off the bat in the Coen brothers' first two solo outings, you can see what they each bring to the table. Like, Ben, you're saying that this movie has the snappiness, the humor, the pace, the editing, and I think what it's missing is in some of the camera direction. Like, that even in the early Coen comedies is there and is intentional, and some of the craft level stuff. In the Tragedy of Macbeth, it's like all camera direction and artistic vision without any of the internal life to the characters that this movie does have, ultimately.
Yeah. It's interesting because in Tragedy of Macbeth, Joel enlists the help of Del Bunnell, who worked on Inside Llewyn Davis and a few previous Coen Brothers movies. But for this film, Ethan Coen enlists the help of Ari Wegner, who is known for films like Power of the Dog and In Fabric, and I guess a cinematographer that's less known for camera movements and directions than more like framing and just, I guess, a different style of cinematography, but still trying to apply it to a very classic Coen Brothers type script and film. And I think that's why sometimes it sort of misses within scenes.
It's like a question of who the second in command is. In the Tragedy of Macbeth, the like power ranking of the team would be Joel, Del Bunnell, and then maybe Skip Levsey, the supervising sound editor. In Drive-Away Dolls, it's like Ethan, then Trisha, then arguably Ari, but maybe not even. Like, there's some real kind of inconsistent lighting questions that I have here as well.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we'll get into it. And also Ethan's relationship with Trisha Cooke, his partner in life and partner in making this film.
And editor and writer of this.
And editor. Yes. But personally, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I watched it with Ben. I'm in Singapore this weekend. Woo. Come back.
Fly halfway across the world.
Okay.
To do podcasts in different rooms.
And Ben finally got his theater room ready, and we watched it on a really like nice screen with a good sound system. So I think that also really, really helped. But for the movie itself, I thought it was fun. It was engaging. I loved like Geraldine with Viswanathan, I think is like untapped talent right there. Like Margaret Qualley is on all of our screens. What, like everyone's fucking talking about Margaret Qualley. Margaret Qualley here, Margaret Qualley there. I go home, my mom's watching Maid, and I'm like, oh, she's like, do you know this lady, Margaret Qualley? She's so good. I'm like, yes, I know this lady. I just saw her yesterday in The Substance. Like, she's everywhere. She's literally everywhere. And she's great. I love her. But Geraldine Viswanathan is like really good in this movie, and I think doesn't have to like work through the accent work.
Oh God.
Like that makes it a little iffy.
Yes. Agreed.
So I think she like has the better performance in this film. I really think the accent holds Margaret Qualley back.
Agreed. I think the top Letterboxd review of this movie is she sounded like Sandy Squirrel.
yeah.
I don't know who Sandy Squirrel
From
is.
SpongeBob. What?
I did not watch SpongeBob. I'm sorry.
Wow.
She's the squirrel
Rip.
named Sandy.
Yeah, rip to me and my childhood, actually.
No, rip to me because I'm old.
And I think I like how I don't know. The stakes start out really high and then get really low, I think. Like, because they're like, oh, these girls are not going to get hurt.
Which is kind of a fun and charming de-escalation, I thought.
Yeah. And I think it works, but it like also adds to the fact that this movie is like quite slight, which is fine. I don't think they're trying to make anything major or big. And from what I've heard, this is going to be like the first of like a 3-film collaboration between Ethan Coen and Trisha Cooke, his wife. So we'll see how that develops in the next few years. But this was lovely, and I hope they sort of like build upon what was made in this film.
Yeah, I'll quote our former classmate, Kritika Roy, who, this is my third Letterboxd citation on the episode, so you got to cut me off after this point. But she wrote, "No harm, no foul." And I pretty much agree.
I mean, that's like with most movies, right? So I guess the question is like, I don't know. There's a lot of movies, guys.
But is Tragedy of Macbeth foul and harm?
Well, fair is foul and foul is fair. So fair and foul a day have I never seen.
Bruh.
I didn't even realize I was setting you up that well, but
Beautiful. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, let's do this comparison, because I think that's a very interesting exercise for us to do.
Yeah.
Which one do you like more? For me, it's clear. I like this one more. I'm bored. I was so bored by the Tragedy of Macbeth. And you have like the greatest performers in the world doing Shakespeare, and I'm like, get me out. Fast forward to the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that we talked about of how with adapting Shakespeare or performing Shakespeare in any context, part of the fun and challenge is making it accessible to the audience. And I don't think that Joel succeeds. Now, I had more fun in Drive Away Dolls, but I think I do, years out now, find myself still thinking about the Tragedy of Macbeth as a conceptual exercise. And like I think there's something I didn't give it credit for initially, which is that the play is a lot about this question of fate and do you drive your own fate or is it sealed for you? So making the choice to have everything feel like it's on a soundstage and sound like it's on a soundstage. Shout out close personal friend Skip Levesey. It does do something with that theme of fate being locked in. Like it's a little Brechtian. But I don't know. Like I think technically about Macbeth, but I don't think emotionally about Macbeth. It did not hit on that level. But Drive Away Dolls kind of did.
I feel torn because I think at the very least Macbeth has like some visual interest maybe.
Yeah.
But also not that interesting. And then Drive Away Dolls just not doing much for me in terms of like visuals. And I think a lot of the performances are like okay. Yeah. It's just interesting because like at least with Macbeth, I'm not saying I prefer it, but I'd rather that it at least lets me see what Joel's trying to do outside of like what him and his brother are usually doing. Something a little out of the ordinary for both of them. Whereas with Drive Away Dolls, it feels like Ethan cosplaying as him and his brother at the same time and not hitting that mark. And then like, it feels odd, you know, like he's pretending to be himself, which is strange.
I do see what you mean.
I just find that there's a disappointment, but also I would say that their last few outings have also been kind of light, even when they were together. So maybe it doesn't matter.
Could you jog my memory? What were the last few two brother outings?
Hail Caesar, I didn't like. And then they did Ballad of Bassus Scruggs, also like just like 6 vignettes, and they're like all like not great. So I think my main problem. Okay, what's interesting is that, okay, for Macbeth, technically there's less script writing because it's Shakespeare, right? And Drive Away Dolls is a original script. And I think the problem with Drive Away Dolls is in the script department. Right? Because like the acting is fine. Like honestly, the character actors in this are fine. And I just was thinking about like what I would have liked more from this. And I think when it comes together and you start to make sense of the plot is where the movie should have maybe started, or like where Act 1 should have ended. But I think they're playing with a kind of Big Lebowski-esque what's going on road trip, right? You have no idea, but I don't think it was working. Because Big Lebowski, at least on the individual scene level, is like really weird and interesting. But this one isn't. And so without the kind of plot machinations, it's hard to like be like, what's really happening? Or like to even just like amp up the intensity of them running away from people. Because for most of this movie, they're just hanging out and just like moving around. And so it lacks some tension.
But I think where it lacks intention, I think it really makes up for it in that relationship and that character dynamic between Marianne and Jamie.
Agreed.
And I think this sort of like, I don't know, it's interesting because I like queer friendships that turn into relationships are like fascinating, I think, subjects that, of course, like I think the Coen brothers as a pair would never have like touched this at all, like with a fucking 10-foot pole. Like they would not touch this. But the fact that this is like the center of this film emotionally, I would say, is very cool. And I love Marianne's character and also those flashbacks where she's like jumping on the trampoline and spying on the naked lady next door, and like her sort of burgeoning sexuality like coming to a head when she's also realizing she's a bit of like a prude, or she overthinks things and pushes people away. And I really loved when they came together. It was like, it made me feel very good. Like it was just, it's really lovely. And I don't think I haven't seen that many Coen brothers films. I can't really name a romantic relationship in like any of these films that feel very like earned and like worth the effort.
I was thinking the same thing. Ben just mouthed Raising Arizona. I was thinking the same thing. And tonally similar too.
Which is good.
True. But I think it's sort of like, I forgive the sort of not as important or not as high stakes tension with the plot of the film, because it made way for a lot of this relationship stuff. And some of them is so funny, like the fucking like making out circle with the soccer team. That's hilarious. That's like, yeah.
I think there was not enough chemistry between the two leads. And I don't actually think it's a performance problem. I mean, okay, I think the accent actually has an effect as well. Because Margaret Qualley's not a real person in this film, and I love her, but like she's not a real person, and it's like confusing, right? It's like every time she speaks, I'm like, cartoon.
Yep.
Right. And Viswanathan is like doing a pretty like straight man thing, but so straight compared to like the Sandy Squirrel that like they feel like they're from different worlds. That it's a bit difficult to understand them as friends even in the first place, because they're so different from each other, right? Because I'm not saying that friends who are very different can't be friends, but it's like they're so polar opposite that it's confusing as to why they're like best buds, right?
Girl, so confusing.
So I think that made it a little bit difficult to be like, okay, I get why these two are buddies. Like maybe it's because we're lacking some shared history between them, because we're being launched right into it and being told to just accept that they're friends, even though they're so different, and that Jamie wants to help out Marion that much, you know?
That they'll have sex.
No, like just to help out with like her love life from the start, you know what I mean?
Because she's into her.
I don't know if I think Jamie's into her, but at the start anyway.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. Like, there's a lack of chemistry here, and that I think was making it hard to be like, oh, like this is a nice romance as well.
So I want to add something onto this, which is, yeah, I think it comes from the writing, and I think it also comes, unfortunately, from Qualley's performance or how she was directed, and in particular with her line delivery, and also, you know, how she's expressing herself facially. Unfortunately, I think I don't get a ton. But I also think it's from Ethan's camera direction and the takes they choose to use. Like, I think about a fundamental component of early Coen's grammar, which is the one-er close-up that has a reverse shot of a one-er close-up. And here the grammar is more like a one-er close-up on who Marion is talking to and a distanced shot on Marion. Think of that living room conversation between Jamie and Marion, where a lot of the attention is being put on Qualley's performance, and when we cut to Marion, it's from like deep in the living room, and Marion's off in the background going to her fridge in another room entirely, coming back into the living room but at a distance. And without that close-up access, it, one, deprives us of access to Marion, and two, overemphasizes how out there Qualley's accent work and performance is. It just heightens the contrast in a way where, as Ben is saying, they feel like they're from different movies. And I don't actually get a ton of chemistry connection until they romantically link up. But up to that point, I'm not as in on their relationship. Mm-hmm. After that point, I'm in, and it's nice.
I think another way to think about a movie is that they're almost intentionally trying to make a B movie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've cited that.
Which I think is an interesting thing to aspire to do.
But like, other people have done that, like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's Grindhouse double feature thing. That's like on purpose, and it's picking and choosing where it goes for depth and where it goes for just shallow spectacle. But this is kind of trying to do something more than just be a B movie.
Exactly. So it's trying to be a B movie, but it can't help but aspire to be like a B plus movie. And I think the aspiration to be a B plus movie actually makes it a worse B movie.
Yeah.
And not a B plus movie either. Because when you do a B movie, you accept that it's going to be trashy in certain ways, right? And then you just go with the trash. But because this one is not actually leaning into its trashiness, it's still trying to be a kind of laid-back Coen Brothers movie, which is not what B movies are like. B movies are like, if you think about like the X trilogy, right? Not particularly interesting plots, but it's just about like certain parts where it's like, oh, I'm leaning into the giallo horror, like that kind of thing. And so it's more about those moments of it leaning into the B movie access. This one's not doing much of that. So I don't really feel that it's a B movie in that sense. Like, because B movies usually tend towards certain genres. This one's not really any kind of genre. It's more of the genre soup that the Coen Brothers are known for. Right? So like, I'm just like, what part of this is a B movie?
But like, okay, Trisha Cooke says that, well, she cites a few movies as like references for this film. And she's like, oh, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, But I'm a Cheerleader, the films of John Waters. And like, you sort of see hints of that. But like, as you said, Ben, it's very much still within that like realm of Coen Brothers movie soup. And something else you said when we were watching it, Ben, you were saying like, oh, this feels very like first feature-esque. And I think it's true because
it is his first feature.
It is his first feature, and it's also Trisha Cooke's first feature. And I think when they do interviews, they always do interviews together. And I think Ethan said it is like very much a co-directed film. It's like not on paper because Trisha Cooke is not a DGA member. So she basically co-directed it with him.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and wrote and edited. So I think like maybe a lot of like the new elements of this, of course, like all the queer and lesbian stuff in it is probably coming from Trisha, but a lot of like maybe of the other elements we can also attribute to this fresh director, Trisha Cooke, who's making her first directorial debut.
That's really interesting.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff here that like I would say is less like a Coen Brothers movie, like the absolutely insane transitions.
Yeah.
I would call those deliberately kitschy, I guess.
Yes. Good word.
You know, very deliberately so. Because there's just like so many of these. Just like all the flipping and all, I don't know what else, the spinning, the wavy line stuff. There's so many just like iMovie transitions, man.
And like they're additionally adding like Mickey Mousing the transitions, like adding sounds onto those moments of transition, like a kaboing or a cat screaming.
Which I think try and lean into like being like a zany, don't take me so seriously movie.
But that's still not B-movie to your point, Ben.
Yeah. I think it's signaling that you shouldn't take the movie seriously, but the movie does take itself kind of seriously a little bit.
By the end, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, like I kind of wish it was like you knew about the dildo stuff way earlier. You know? Because more of like a ticking time bomb thing where it's like, oh, I know that they know they're being chased, so they know they're trying to get away. Because a lot of things happen in the third act because they get caught and they find out they're being chased this whole time, which they didn't know, right? It's a heist movie in which the people who did the heist didn't know they did a heist.
It's a road trip movie. It's not a heist movie.
But it's also, is it a road trip movie?
They have stops.
I know that on the car. I know.
They hang out.
But it's hard to really say. I don't know.
Well, but what you're citing, Ben, is a maybe contradictory deployment of suppressive narration in that Marion and Jamie know before we do what's, like, long before we do, what's in the suitcase. And then also we have a higher plane of knowledge over Jamie and Marion, a la No Country for Old Men, where we know who's hunting who and why in a way that not all the characters know. So it's an odd thing to have both of those going on at the same time, knowing more and less than Jamie and Marion in combination. It sort of confuses me as to where we're supposed to be in relation to them experientially.
I've been thinking recently about how movies are like really weird animals because like we can say now, like as I guess armchair critics or like in hindsight, like why certain things don't work for us, but it's really difficult to explain why this combination of stuff is not quite working, right? Because like movies are strange. Like it's really hard to figure out what exactly is the wrong ingredient, or maybe there are multiple wrong ingredients, or maybe the ingredients just don't go well together, and you just can't tell that in the making of a movie.
We're also considering what they've said about the movie in interviews, which is sort of like the chopped component, where a chef will say, "This is what I'm serving you." And the judges will be like, this isn't what you said it was going to be. It would have been perfectly fine if you said it was going to be something else. But because I have this frame of mind, I'm not judging it charitably.
But it's like, how else would they sell this movie, honestly?
But also, like goes the other way, right? When you were talking about how bad that trailer was, Eli, and then you were pleasantly surprised by the movie being like better than the trailer.
True. Yeah. That's a good point.
Interesting. It feels like, because, okay, I think we have to accept the fact that Joel and Ethan are not going to be making movies together for a little bit, right? And Ethan and Trisha are going to be making a few movies together. At least they've said in interviews. So, like, I'm still on the side of being, like, hopeful for what this, like, directorial collaboration brings to fruition in the next few years. Because if this is, like, a first bat, or, I don't don't fucking know baseball, first fucking inning shit, but
further from it,
we like damn, but if this is a first trial, first go around, I feel like it could get better. I'm hopeful that it could get better.
Yeah, same. I am too. By the end, again, I know we've sort of been focusing on what's not working, but once they finally link romantically, then I really buy their chemistry more, because I don't really need the backstory to believe how they interact when they're being finally united in the same shot. And even if that's via a pan, even if it's for a joke, like Marion in the morning going over and seeing the suitcase missing one of its members, and then looking over and seeing Jamie employing said member. There's something about the chemistry in the back half that works a lot better for me. And I think it's partially because they are united in the frame more and we get to see them really playing off of each other.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also like that ending or that scene, and as well on top of that like shower scene where Marion asks the members to be employed on her. If we're using the same language.
It actually is a nice payoff of her character arc where she's not asking for what she wants or even trying to determine what she wants. It is a nice payoff, and it's a moment of vulnerable intimacy that feels legitimate and not deployed for a joke, even though it is also incidentally funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for real. Geraldine Viswanathan's Marianne is like the MVP of this movie.
Agreed.
I'm very, very happy with that.
Yeah. She's a great actress. She's really good in Bad Education.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that.
Ben, you gotta watch Bad Education. I was just telling you, she's so good in it.
That's a really underappreciated movie. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. Cast her in more things. Casting directors, go cast her in more things. Good stuff.
Guys, I've reviewed Bad Education. I've seen it.
You've seen it?
And I just don't remember it. I don't remember. I gave it 3 stars. I was like, there is a chance I've seen this and just completely blacked out.
And you did.
Yes. I even reviewed it and there's like 4 paragraphs.
Oh, man.
Bro. What? I was like, this whole thing looks familiar. Well, this is a long review, but okay. I guess I didn't like it that much. It was 3 stars.
Now go read Ben's 3-star 4-paragraph review of Bad Education.
I'm concerned sometimes about how I just black out about the movies I already see. Just like zero recollection.
Fill up your brain with new ones.
Yeah, exactly.
I got limited capacity. I got like a 10 megabyte brain.
But what about your RAM?
Empty my recycle bin.
Coleman Domingo is good too. He also...
I was gonna say...
I mean, I love the character actors. Yeah, the guy that plays Curly, always great in a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Who's that? Bill Camp?
Yeah, Bill Camp. Yeah. He's always great. He's always the same.
Joey Slotnick, who plays the bald henchman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that little, like, storyline. That was quite, like, funny.
And also, I love the implication by the end that they've hooked up.
They, like, fucked each other? Yeah.
That's great.
And then that's the reason that he, like, shoots everybody. It's so great.
It's very zany.
Yeah. I will admit something. I like told Ben really excitedly at the end of the movie. I'm like, oh my God, this movie and the PTA movie both hinge on the fact that it's about Matt Damon's penis. And Ben was like, no, that's not Matt Damon in the PTA movie.
The PTA movie?
I've fully replaced
The PTA porn movie, Boogie Nights.
What is it called?
What?
Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Oh.
That does not star Matt Damon at all.
Yep.
I've just replaced Marky Mark with Matt Damon in my head, like all of Mark Wahlberg's films.
How's your Boogie Nights doing?
Is that a line from the movie?
No, that's just my Mark Wahlberg.
Oh.
I'm the fighter here, not you, and not you. I could have stopped 9/11.
What?
Oh.
Wait, do you all know about this? He, in an interview, claimed that it would have, quote, gone down differently if he had been on the planes during 9/11.
What the fuck?
This is real. I'm not making this up. Mark Wahlberg, ladies and gentlemen.
Good for Marky Mark.
Good for him. He's got a healthy ego.
And I'm glad it was Matt Damon in this film. Marky Mark would not have been in this film.
He wouldn't have. Matt Damon's funny. He's good.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Deep Cut. Please rate and review because that helps us keep making the show and helps others discover the show as well. Be sure to subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll know when our next episode drops. Keep up with Deep Cut on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd at Deep Cut Pod. You can also join us to talk about movies on our Discord server. We also now have a Patreon. If you want to support us, we deeply appreciate it. Click the link in our description or go to deepcutpod.com to find our Patreon, Discord, and all the other socials that we've mentioned here. Big shout out to Patreon supporter Leah Lai for supporting us. It's been a few months now. We really like you. Thank you. You're not going to listen to this.
Literally,
Thank you.
this show would not exist without you.
That's true.
Literally, it would not happen. It would not happen. Actually. Deep Cut is hosted and produced by us, Wilson Lai, Benjamin Yap, and Eli Sands. And our cover art is designed by Justina Yam. And our theme song is composed by the one and only Eli Sands.
And if you think about it, we were produced by our parents.
It's true.
Yes.
Yes. So we have what, like a lot of other names to put on this?
And grand producers and great grand producers. So on.
Thank you, The Big Bang.
I'm Wilson.
I'm Ben.
I'm Eli.
Take care, and we're looking forward to talking about more movies with you next time.